Hello and welcome to lecture number 3 of the LQAS online series. As we addressed the basic principles of LQAS in lecture number 1, and we saw how to randomly select communities and households as a two-stage sampling procedure in lecture number 2. Today we will concentrate on supervision areas, specifically some key considerations for defining supervision areas in your project catchment areas. And we will also take a closer look at the process of tabulating data collected through LQAS in order to do data analysis for informed decision making. Objectives for this particular lecture include how to define supervision areas and, more importantly, the criteria to use when defining supervision areas in the project catchment area. We will also be able to understand how to tabulate supervision area data and program level data in order to identify indicators that need attention at any given point within supervision areas and throughout supervision areas. By the end of the lecture, you should be able to understand the process of tabulating data after a survey that uses LQAS is completed. We will give you the basis for doing such a tabulation process in this lecture, but we will provide further details and examples of doing so in the live session scheduled for March the 9th. Let's get started by taking a closer look to the concept of supervision areas when using LQAS. Going back to our initial example from lecture number 1, here we have a representation of an entire project catchment area that has 5 supervision areas identified as A, B, C, D, and E. But the question is, why 5? Let's take a look at the criteria used for defining supervision areas. First and foremost, supervision areas should reflect management units within the project. This is extremely important since LQAS data will help the manager or supervisor from each supervision area to learn how well the supervision area is performing in comparison to other supervision areas. Second, supervision areas should be created based on the available resources that the project has in order to conduct supervision of project activities effectively. Third, the number of supervision areas in your project should be practical and feasible and should not make supervisory activities difficult for the project management. In addition, the boundaries of supervision areas do not necessarily follow geographical boundaries of any kind. They should reflect what is doable for the project in terms of management units for effective supervision. And finally, for baseline and final surveys, we recommend at least 5 supervision areas. If we use the optimal sample size of 19, having 5 supervision areas will provide a total sample size of 95, which in turn will provide meaningful results reflected in confidence intervals that are less than 10%. So when trying to define supervision areas for your entire project catchment area, we would like you to consider the criteria shown in this slide. But keep in mind that supervision areas are primarily management units that should help the project to conduct effective supervision with the purpose of improving quality of services. Now, once the survey is completed using LQAS, the next steps are the following shown in this slide. Immediately after the data collection is concluded, we recommend to have a field debrief with the team who has been in charge of data collection, that is mostly interviewers and supervisors. This debrief should serve as an opportunity to share with each other important lessons learned during the survey and to identify the needs for following up and to plan how to deal with outstanding issues. After the field debriefing is done and we are completely done with data collection, we start the process of tabulating data. Once data is tabulated, we will be able to do the analysis of the data in order to make management decisions at the local level, that is by supervision area, and at the program level as well, that is for the entire catchment area. The fieldwork debriefing should be as an opportunity to identify what was difficult and easy about data collection, what other issues managers should address when conducting this type of surveys, and what suggestions the survey team have for dealing with these issues. And more importantly, what did we learn about the communities through this process? We also highly recommend that the table shown in this slide should be used during the fieldwork debriefing. It should be completed with input from the survey teams and should provide information by supervision area on the number of questions completed, the number of questionnaires remaining to conduct, if any, the number of questionnaires brought to the debriefing exercise, and the plans to finish tabulation, dates for any remaining data collection, and deadlines for completing data collection if necessary, or deadlines for completing the tabulation process. Tabulation is the process of bringing together all the information collected during the interviews in a way that we can analyze it. And to do this, there are a couple of options. One is to do the tabulation manually with active participation of those who are involved in data collection. The other option is to make use of a computer program, for instance EpiInfo, to enter the data in electronic form for further analysis. Both options, if done correctly, should provide the same results. However, what we would like to explain in this lecture is the manual tabulation that requires active participation from those who are involved conducting the survey and local managers. This is an important process that will empower local managers and the staff involved in the survey. The tabulation process requires the use of a tabulation table that will help us to structure all the survey data collected. When tabulating data from a survey implemented using LQAS, we should use one tabulation table for each type of questionnaire used in the survey. So if we use parallel sampling for distinct groupings, then we should use one tabulation table for each group. Now, tabulation tables must be developed prior to the actual tabulation process, as this process really requires a form to register the responses provided by the people we interviewed in the survey. It is also important to understand that tabulation tables must be developed based on the actual questionnaires used in the survey. That is, if we, for instance, have 3 survey questionnaires in the event that we are doing parallel sampling. Let's say one survey questionnaire for mothers with children 0 to 11 months, another survey questionnaire for mothers with children 12 to 23 months, and a third one for women of reproductive age. Then we should have 3 tabulation tables, one for each type of questionnaire. We're going to take an example of a tabulation table used in a baseline survey. And for the purpose of this lecture, we will show only one portion of the tabulation table that includes 2 sections of the survey questionnaire for women of reproductive age. I should also say that we're going to show some summary tabulation tables that will extract the information from the tabulation tables used first in order to make the analysis as well. We're going to take a closer look at these tables with presenting the actual tables to you as well as some examples.